CHGO White Sox podcast coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That is our CHGO White Sox beat writer, Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber, and you can read his work at allchgo.com. The man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow him at Eckerwall23, and I am Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show today.
Hi.
Hello. And we appreciate all of our diehards, especially Ian, who's already in the chat, that he loves this pick of Will Venable. He could not get too excited when linked. He thought it wasn't possible. Again, this is me translating. I can't actually read his original
translating
comment.
From British to American.
Exactly.
Do the British voice. Ian loves it.
Don't do
He
that.
loves it. It's like when San Diego's love when you call it Wales vagina.
I feel like when I'm looking at my wife, I can easily talk in a British accent, but I feel like when I'm talking to you guys, I just clam up.
Wow. She inspires the Brit in you, the inner Brit in you.
She really does. I don't know. I can be goofier around here. But Ian's positive all throughout this one. If you want to be a diehard like Ian, check out allchgo.com/intro because we have a fun new offer up there for $4 a month. You could become a diehard. You could have access to all of our written content up at allchgo.com. Vinny did publish 7 things to know about the new White Sox manager. Our guy Sean Jankowski, also a diehard, said, "This is why I pay." Vinny's linking me in, so go learn some more things about Venable at allchgo.com. Obviously, on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about Will Venable. If I haven't mentioned his name enough, Will Venable. Venable.
Wade Boggs Carpet World.
Reportedly the new White Sox manager. Go check out the emergency podcast from last night. We did it at 11 p.m. and talked about Will Venable being the new White Sox skipper. Have you guys, come to any new grand conclusions on Will Venable?
I've not. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. The White Sox sought a new manager. They interviewed a good portion of those people. And at the end of it, when it was time to choose, they got the best candidate available. And a guy that is wanted by multiple MLB franchises and talked about in glowing terms by everybody that's come in contact with him. I'm just so shocked that he chose the White Sox. And yes, my opinion as a White Sox fan is probably at its lowest point because of the 121 losses. And the way that Chris Getz initially got his job, I did not like the process of how he got his job. That's fine. The fact that he is doing his job so well in some of these moves, like the Brian Bannister hire, is looking like a genius thing. And now coming out of this manager search, which I wasn't expecting much out of this manager search because of my pessimism. But Chris Getz wins. He actually sought the guy out, got a guy that has been under the tutelage of Joe Madden, under the tutelage of Alex Cora, under the tutelage of Bruce Bochy, all with World Series rings. One is 100% going to the Hall of Fame in Bruce Bochy, and that guy is going to be the next bench boss for the Chicago White Sox. Like, young, too. 42nd birthday was yesterday. I just can't believe that this is our life as White Sox fans, where we're getting people that are wanted by other organizations, and we win those battles versus even if it's the Miami Marlins. We win those battles, and we convince that candidate that this is the best place to be. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around why, but as the old commercial says, why ask why, and just accept it and celebrate that Will Venable is a Chicago White Sox manager.
I mean, we'll get more insight, obviously, when we end up hearing from Will Venable. This movie isn't official yet, by the way, with the World Series going on. It might not end up being official until the World Series is actually over. We'll see. But once we end up hearing from the man himself, we'll get more insight. But it already seems like Chris Getz's sales pitch is an intriguing one. I think we talked a lot last night about how different people want different things out of jobs. They want different kinds of challenges, or they like different kinds of situations. And maybe the idea of this total rebuild, this total organizational makeover that Chris Getz has going on, the idea of building something from the most losses that any Major League Baseball team's ever had to what they envision one day, what they hope for one day as a championship or championship contention, it might appeal to more people than you'd think. I think you got a lot of White Sox fans out there that are very understandably frustrated, cynical. Why would anyone want to come here and take this job with how bad this team is right now? But I think there are folks out there, and Will Venable might be one of them, that like the sound of that challenge, that like the sound of being there at the end when you put all the work in to get the team to that point. So Chris Getz's sales pitch got rave reviews over a year ago when Brian Bannister and Josh Barfield and Gene Watson and all those guys joined the front office, joined that brain trust. You hear about it mentioned from certain players over the course of the year. Man, Chris, we get what Chris is looking into. Even the last managerial regime, Pedro Grifol, once Chris Getz took over, raved about what the vision was from Chris Getz. So maybe the sales pitch is a little bit more interesting than us on the outside would think about it. And Herb, as you sit here and go, man, still can't really imagine how they landed this guy. Maybe everything Chris Getz had to sell about where he thinks this organization is going really appealed to something in Will Venable.
I personally hate the hire because I did find something that to me is a complete red flag. Technically, Will Venable is a branch of the Tony La Russa tree. I told you guys this earlier, and it's just soured me on Will Venable. Tony managed Scott Bradley in 1986 with the White Sox. Any fond Scott Bradley memories?
I don't. I'm not that old.
Any memories from 19? You were alive.
I was
in
alive,
1986.
but I didn't start watching the White Sox till like 1990.
Okay, but too old is different. You were. I was not alive. Vinny, were you alive in 1986?
No, I was not.
You
Sarah
wasn't alive
wasn't
in
either.
1986.
I was not alive until 1990.
I'm just really bad with math.
My parents didn't even know each other.
Oh, okay, there you go. Technically, Will Venable is a branch of the Tony La Russa tree because Tony managed Scott Bradley in 1986 with the White Sox, and Scott has been the Princeton baseball coach since 1998. So I'm just going to assume.
To this day?
He just recently, I think the past season, it was his final.
Wow, what a run. 98
to 2024. I was going to say 2004, which would have made no sense. But there you go. Will Venable is a Tony.
Apparently,
I'm sick to my stomach.
Apparently, somebody White Sox fan is mad about Tony La Russa's existence. Drinking game is back on. Apparently,
exactly. Look at Blue Dan in the chat. No, kidding. I mean, again, overall, I didn't even realize this too. I was Alex Rude and I were going back through conversations, and back when we did have the Pedro thing, I was making like a wish list, and it was, what's Espada's first name? Joe Espada. Mm-hmm. Joe Espada was my favorite guy. That's who I really wanted to be the next White Sox manager. Second, Sandy Alomar Jr., right? Let's right or wrong. Let's make him the next guy.
Finally.
Get a guy from Cleveland, right? We're always trying to get a guy from Cleveland, whether it's Craig Albernaz, whether it's, our guy Sandy Alomar Jr., always trying to peel something from Cleveland. And third, Will Venable. It's weird to kind of see this all play out, though. Like, I don't know. He's been really highly thought of in baseball, and it's weird to get the guy. It didn't really work out well with the Cubs when they got the guy, though. So maybe this is the thing. Like, I mean, they were going for it.
It's 1 year.
The Cubs. Let me rephrase that. The Cubs got Craig Counsell last year.
I see.
Paid him $8 million, made him the highest paid manager, and Cubs fans really felt like it was a free agent signing. Like it really. I mean, we had an emergency podcast at 2 a.m. I think, or that was the Cody Bellinger one. There was so much excitement just for a manager. And it feels similar, but again, Craig Counsell is now getting kind of crucified a bit because of the result.
The expectations are what they were up there, right?
Will Venable can lose 100 games, and I think White Sox fans will probably throw him a parade.
Depending on how he develops this talent, yes, there'll be 100 or 20 game plus improvement if he only wins or loses 100 games. But with the Craig Counsell point you bring up, I don't think, and at the time I said, man, awesome. And I remember it was my birthday, November 6th last year. yeah, pay him $8 million, but you got to do some continuation moves. And I was thinking, like, if you're going to steal him from a division opponent and pay him the most money any manager has made, you got to continue that with some extra incentives. I know that they got the pitcher from Japan and they played well, but they didn't push it all in. I'm hoping that Chris Getz, this is a starter move. And to get a player and a manager like Will Venable on your squad, you have to continue it. So I get the good manager that has the respect and the knowledge and the tutelage to make our team better. Now let's get the people underneath him so his message goes forward. Let's get the equipment needed so if he needs to teach something specific on a backfield or somewhere else, he can do that. Let's put the actual financial backing behind this move. And we know the wins and losses next couple years won't matter much. I'll be on this chair bitching when they do lose, but I will have an understanding of it. Doesn't really matter because these are rebuilding, retooling years the next couple of years. And so I hope Chris Getz is like, yeah, this is a nice move, but he can't grab a bat. He can't grab a glove. He's not going to be pitching for us. So I need to fulfill and make him as good as he can be by getting him stuff around him so he can look good. This is Chris Getz's initial hiring as a manager. He, I would think, would want to do everything in his power to make Will Venable as successful as he can, and I think more than likely he will.
And that's honestly the other thing, too. Will Venable, I think, has no expectations because it's Chris Getz truly with the thing to prove. Chris Getz has to prove that he was better than Rick Hahn, Kenny Williams to really shake up this White Sox organization. He really has to prove that he knew that this team sucks, that he didn't like the team, right, to actually properly quote him, that he didn't like the team, and that he knew that severe changes to the organization need to happen. Now he has to go out and prove that he's the right guy to hire all these people. The player personnel hasn't been desirable. The player personnel hasn't been exciting, and those transactions haven't been great for Chris Getz. But at least hiring baseball ops people, it does seem like he is building something. But again, they're not the ones with the bats. They're not the ones with the gloves. They're not the ones throwing the baseball. Like, there are the expectations for Chris Getz to prove that he was worth this flip for the White Sox, and Will Venable is just kind of along for the ride. And if Chris Getz doesn't have his things ready and this organization ready for about 3 years, I mean, Will Venable probably isn't really, worried. Like, it seems like Will Venable is ready for the long haul, and Chris Getz now just has to prove that he can drive the next 3 years to get to the Sox to where they need to be.
Will Venable's a smart guy. He's a Princeton man.
Mm-hmm.
He knows exactly what he just signed up for. I think, Herb, I'm glad you did specify there, because when you started talking, you gotta back up the manager hire with some good players kind of thing. I was like, Herb, I hate to break it to you. I don't think that's happening this offseason. The situation's entirely different with the Northsiders getting a new manager last season and the White Sox getting a new one this time around. We're talking about years, plural, at bare minimum, just 2, but longer probably, until you finally see all the pieces come together. But I'm glad you specified it comes down to the things that we've been talking about, the things that Chris has been talking about, the behind-the-scenes stuff, right? Get the scouts in there to make the right signings on the international front. Get the scouts in there to make the right draft picks in the amateur draft. Get your player personnel people in the front office to go find the best players you can find. Get your pitching guys in there to develop the pitching. It is a lot of things that don't, people whose names don't end up on that 26-man roster, and a lot of investment in things that aren't player salaries for the guys on the 26-man roster. Now, you get that stuff to where you want it to be, and we can talk 2-3 off seasons from now about going out and supplementing Will Venable with some free agents or the guys who are already, coming up from your minor league system with free agents and trade acquisitions, that kind of thing. But everybody remember, this is a long-term thing. Will Venable is not going to make them a contender overnight. He has not been hired to do that. He has been hired to help develop a lot of young players into a team that one day will be a contender, and that's well down the road. But Chris Getz was looking for someone who could be a partner in that, and he's found him. This hire was made for a very specific reason, and the guy who got the job took the job for a very specific reason. Everybody here knows what they're getting into. It's going to be a long-term process, but I think they're excited about doing the work.
I can hear it. I can see it now. 2027 comes. Colson Montgomery's a 5-WAR player at shortstop. George Wolkhouse patrolling center field.
Center field?
Oh, yeah. This is my dream. 40 bombs.
Jesus.
Noah Schultz has, I believe, a negative ERA at this point. It's really great stuff. And Will Venable is now not even just manager. He's just baseball god for the Chicago White Sox. We're going to take a break because obviously I took some pills that I shouldn't have. Vinny and Herb, take us to ComEd.
Vinny, did you know that ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient?
What, Herb?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yep. The Energy Efficiency Program can help you find up to 35% in energy savings.
Wow. That's incredible. What does a business have to do to get those savings?
It's easy, Vinny. Just sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
That does sound easy. Why aren't more businesses doing that?
Maybe they forgot the website.
Oh, okay. So they needed repeated. They needed hammered home.
Ad nauseum.
ComEd.com/biz. 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 ComEd.com/biz.
Do it, Vinny. We appreciate you telling us that it's ComEd.com/biz.
Be fair, you said ad nauseum.
I did.
He was just listening to you.
I'm sorry. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
Thank you, guys. We want to let you know, too, about our friends over at Empire. With Empire today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but Empire cannot be beaten on their quality, service, speed. You're throwing a bobblehead?
You damn right I am.
Jeez.
That's how Lynn Haldren sounds.
That is precious.
I caught him by the body.
I know you did, but
he's not like
Sarah's the one.
All right,
throwing
everybody who's freaking out, this is not like made of ceramic.
It's not, yeah.
This is a plastic bobblehead.
Yeah,
still,
and
like,
I would have
mean,
still caught it.
The spring.
I would
is
never
what's-
I would never put Herb in harm's way.
I don't think Sean
put
cares about
Lynn
Herb. I think he cares about Lynn.
harm's way. Like, I mean, I don't know.
The lack of faith you have in my catching abilities.
I mean, you guys should be turning double plays for our softball team.
I'm not Gavin Sheets.
With Empire today, you get shop at home
Gavin
convenience.
Sheets taking an extra side swipe for no reason.
The right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring. They have copycats, but those copycats can't beat Empire on their quality, service, and speed. That's why competitors advertise low-quality products, and Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floor simple. They curate a product selection. You can see that product selection with their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. And shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might want to talk to somebody today who was in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest and upfront advice. So go check them out. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today with our friends over at Empire, and new listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. Clark's still mad at Pedro. I would suggest you to get over it. It was not Pedro Grifal's fault, is I think what we could say.
Not his fault.
Absolutely.
You just don't lose 200 games as a manager without it being organizational rot. So that dude should just go enjoy Florida for as long as he can, as long as it's not sunken into the ocean, and just kick your feet up and relax.
And Clark, I got something to tell you. Like, you might get the same amount of losses in the first 2 years of Will Venable. There's no promise that he's going to win games, so they're going to lose under Will Venable. Now, can that manager look a little bit more equipped for the job than what Pedro did?
Clark said he flushed him, which I appreciate.
And also, it's, as we talked about, it's a different situation. Pedro came in, he was supposed to win with the team that he took over in 2023.
And it crumbled down around him very quickly.
Well, so let me phrase this. Scott Merkin throws out that when they hired Pedro Grifol, Will Venable was a part of the interview process.
Whatever that means, but yes.
Would Will Venable be able to do a better job with the 2022 and 2023 White Sox than Pedro Grifol?
You mean the 23 and 24?
Yes.
Yeah. I would say no, because I don't think Will Venable's presence would have kept everybody from getting injured.
That's a fair point. All right.
Now, I don't know Will Venable's psychology, like how he deals with people on a day-to-day basis. Maybe that is a way where the clubhouse, which we heard was toxic last year, can stay together and not be as such. And I don't know if that fosters more wins, but I think Pedro did a poor job at his job, but also more than likely most of the stuff was out of his control.
Fair. Let's make sure we reset. Kennedy Landry of MLB.com will be joining us at 4:30. She covers the Rangers for MLB.com. So we're excited to talk to Kennedy about Will Venable's time in Texas. And again, just to hammer home, this is reportedly. This is not official yet. The White Sox haven't refuted it, but they also have not put out a statement saying Will Venable is the 44th manager in White Sox history. Our guy Bruce Levine saying the White Sox must wait until the World Series ends, which could be tonight, or get permission from the commissioner's office to officially name Venable manager. Bruce notes that it's possible Thursday's off day if a Game 6 is necessary. So do we think that even if the Dodgers lose tonight, Thursday is when this might be official? Like I feel like with the tightness of the GM meetings, the White Sox will be allowed by the commissioner to do this week.
If I were to guess, yes, but that's just me guessing. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you've got that off day tomorrow, so that it makes sense that they're not interfering with any games or anything like that. I think it's a little odd, as we've talked about already, that there would be this rule like, how dare a team doesn't announces their new manager, overshadowing what could be the Dodgers winning the World Series. Anybody going to think that the White Sox getting a new manager overshadows the Dodgers beating the Yankees in the World Series? I don't think so, but whatever.
Watching two teams that are capable disgusts me. So yes, I cannot watch my new 44th manager be introduced. So
if they don't announce him tomorrow and say the World Series last 7 games, and I know Yankee fans are wanting that, earliest they can do is Monday, or theoretically Sunday, but I wouldn't do it on a Sunday. Would be Monday. So I would think that if the World Series doesn't end tonight, that tomorrow will be the perfect day for an open day, a travel day for the teams. Great day for Will Venable to become the 44th manager in White Sox history.
And if memory serves, I didn't really look this up, but I just seem to remember that has happened before. Mm-hmm. General managers being introduced on off days during the World Series. That's not
Pedro.
It's nothing new. Yeah.
The World Series is still going on and Pedro was introduced.
So, yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing is like this is weird. I didn't know, maybe because it's a Dodger Yankee World Series and it's the biggest it's ever been. Like maybe that's why there's this kind of emphasis on that rule, but I don't feel like there was an emphasis on that when it was the Phillies and whoever they played. Why can't I remember that World Series?
What, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Phillies and the Astros, right?
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, the one thing that jumped out to me about Will Venable was something that Lauren shared, and it's his two-sport time at Princeton.
A two-sport star.
A two-sport star at Princeton. Obviously played baseball and then went on to play baseball professionally, but he was a guard for the Princeton Tigers basketball team. And there's a quote that I, of course, cannot find right now. Here it is. From Coach K of Duke after the game on January 5th, 2005, when Princeton took on Duke. Will Venable scored 21 points, had 3 assists, 3 steals at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And Will Venable was described by Coach K as a heck of a competitor in the Ivy League or any league. So not only could he be diving in center field like a maniac, as your ALLCITY article showed, and what he rubbed off on Travis Jankowski that we saw this year, he could hoop.
Yeah.
And his brother's a Chicago Bear.
I mean, the whole family was just athletic. His dad, Max Venable, played from the major leagues for a while himself. And then you get him. I think, as I read it right, he initially didn't go to Princeton to be a baseball player.
Correct.
He's eventually got in his sophomore year to play more baseball. And so that was a thing. Like, he was a hooper and wanted to hoop at Princeton, as a prestigious university, but like, that is amazing. Like, being a son of a Major League Baseball player and not playing baseball initially at Princeton, and then it's like, just pick it up. It's like, all right, I'll do this baseball thing, and being good at baseball. Like, that just seems like he's one of those guys that you kind of admired / hated when you're a kid. He's like, he's just good at everything. And he's like, everything athletic, good, and now he's also in Princeton, so he's smart as hell too.
And he's not just a guy who like happened to play basketball for Princeton. He was their best player. He, as you mentioned, a big game at Duke there. Also played in the NCAA tournament, led Princeton in scoring in their
16 points.
The one NBA or the one March Madness game he played, and against Texas. Yep, they lost. And also all Ivy League. He was the second Ivy League player ever, or student athlete ever, to be all Ivy League in multiple sports.
That's sick.
During his tenure, the first?
I know it. His former general manager, Chris Young,
who was his boss as of yesterday.
Was he also a hooper?
He was.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. He's tall.
He is very tall.
I mean, it also makes sense that he's like a goal line wide receiver.
They were Padres.
They
were Padres teammates as well.
Ugly Padre uniforms, Padre teammates.
And I guess that's the other thing too. Why people are kind of bewildered that Will Venable would take this job. It seemed like he was so close to Chris Young, Princeton teammates, Princeton all Ivy guys. In that special class, being Padre teammates, winning a World Series in Texas in 2023. We were talking about this earlier, and I know we're about to hit a break in just a few, but I think the one thing that really, again, just gives Chris this edge is being one of, I think now 3, if you include Buster Posey, 3 former MLB players who are now general managers / president of baseball ops.
The top ranking
the
guy.
head honchos.
Right, yeah.
There's one more I forgot to put in there. Jerry DiPoto was a pitcher back in the 90s, 2000s. So there's another one in Seattle, and he chose another former player in Dan Wilson as his manager. So it seems like there might be starting a trend, and the White Sox are in the early stages of that trend where you have a young former player with some smarts in Chris Getz, and you're starting with the whole organization pretty much being former players, if not second-generation people. Now you have Brian Bannister, his dad Floyd, Josh Barfield, his dad Jesse, and now Will Venable and his dad Max, all second-generation players.
And when you're throwing out the former players who are kind of running the show with the White Sox, remember Paul Yanish, too, who's the farm director.
Did his dad play?
Not that I know of, no.
Gavin Sheets' dad played, though.
Maybe we just get Larry a job in the White Sox organization at this point.
He'd have to give up those nice tickets behind home plate in Baltimore.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Hey, maybe, we've had the M&M's guy. We've had Marlins man. Maybe we just make Larry Sheets a thing. He's not like a
Does
guy,
he get the M&M's jacket also?
No, he doesn't wear like a fun piece of clothing. He's just, there's Larry. Wow, Larry Sheets.
So that guy has the M&M's jacket, right? Larry Sheets' jacket could be sponsored by Bounce.
Sheets. Hey,
be here all week. Be here all week, folks.
But does that mean that you want to keep Gavin here with the White Sox? Because you get no Larry without Gavin.
My plan is to non-tender Andrew Vaughn and keep Gavin Sheets, so I'm fine with that. But I think I saw Merck say somewhere that he expects both them to be tendered, so we'll see. And hey,
come on, Will Venable.
Merck's the newsbreaker out here, busting down the doors and saying that Will Venable is reportedly going to be the White Sox.
Come in the door
at 10:35 at night.
Yeah.
Well, some of us are trying to go to bed.
Right after the World Series ends, I was like, oh, I'm just chilling. I'm about to go to sleep myself. And no, the White Sox are like, nah. Which is good. It's a good surprise to have, White Sox. Keep on doing good surprises.
Merck's cable must have stopped working. Dallas reruns were not on, so we had to check something else.
He already knows who shot JR.
Yeah. Let's take a break, and we will welcome in Kennedy Landry right after the break. We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside.
Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, Sunnyside has expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city, in Wrigleyville, River North, or in the suburbs, Champaign or South Beloit. Not suburbs, but whatever. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands that you know and love, like Good News and Mindy's. And if you're a pro, you got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added weekly. We know you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products. and it's easy to order online, and we're here to help you when you get in store. Available now, Good News LTO Island Vibes. Available in disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. Visit Sunnyside.shop for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, Bright Buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Thank you, Herb. And we've been so thankful for our Roback activewear. We wear it all the time because it's the best fit and feel in men's clothing, and the quality of the gear speaks for itself, especially in the heat. And now that it's 80 degrees in Chicago over the past few days, now global warming's here. We're going to need, moisture wicking all throughout the 12 months. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polo. They're moisture wicking, so the polo does not stick to you and has a nice stretch. And their everyday shorts are perfect for the day on the move. They look clean, but they also sport the comfort of an elastic waistband. With fall right around the corner, because it's still 80 degrees, what better item to prepare for the season than by adding one of their performance hoodies to your closet? They're the softest item we own. We can't take them off, even when it's 80 degrees in Chicago. They're incredibly versatile. You can wear them with a polo untucked or a tee on the move. That's the shorts. And again, that elastic waistband provides easy comfort and a nice stretch fabric. It's a clean look no matter the occasion. So check out Roback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Enter code CHGO Sox 20 for 20% off. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with code CHGO Sox 20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have. Our next activity is talking to Texas Ranger beat writer Kennedy Landry. She has been covering the Rangers since 2020. We are excited to talk to her about Will Venable. Hi, Kennedy.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
We are excited to talk to you. You can follow Kennedy at Ken, Kenn, Landry, with a Y on X, Twitter, or whatever. We're excited about Will Venable. Should we be? You've known Will over the past 2 years. What have you learned to know about the senior associate manager? Did I get that title right? He shrugs.
Yeah, I didn't know we had those until they hired Will. I'm not going to lie to you. It was like, what is he doing? But no, Will's great. I think it's a great hire. Obviously, he's worked under some legendary managers. Bruce Bochy winning the first ever World Series in Rangers franchise history, obviously being at the top of that list. But yeah, he's obviously wanted to be a manager. I was curious just because, he turned down a couple of opportunities to interview for a couple of places last year, high profile places as well. So I think this is a great hire for the White Sox. It'd be very interesting to see how it goes, obviously, considering what this last year has looked like for you guys up in the South Side.
I'm just still flummoxed about him accepting the job for the White Sox because of the reasons you just talked about, and I'm a pessimistic White Sox fan. What's the reaction down there in Texas? I mean, we're led to believe that he was like the guy that's going to be the incumbent. It's going to be taking over for Bruce Bochy whenever he decides to wrap it up again. So what's the reaction down there, and why do you think he chose the White Sox as his destination for the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think among fans, I think there's definitely a bit of confusion because he has been a bit of the heir apparent, I guess you would say, to Bruce Bochy. He spent a couple years in the North Side, spent a couple years in Boston, came to Texas, obviously with a little bit of a bump in title, I guess you would say, like we said, associate manager. And, he's been really great here. So it's definitely, the Rangers have never really, at least under Chris Young, the last few years I've been here, stopped their assistants from taking interviews elsewhere. Obviously, hitting coach Tim Hires just recently left to take the same position with the Braves, even though the Rangers would have liked to have him back. He moved closer to home. So the Rangers have never stopped their guys from, looking elsewhere for, exploring other opportunities. So, Will turning down the opportunity to interview for the Mets position last year and the Cleveland position last year, those are two, high profile jobs. Cleveland made it all the way to the ALCS this year just to get beat by the Yankees. So a lot of confusion, a lot of, I think the Rangers are, happy that Will gets to have this opportunity. But from the fans, it's like, oh, like are people jumping ship for a reason or like what's going on? I don't think it's that. I don't think people are jumping ship after, a struggle that the Rangers really did have this year. But I think it's just maybe Will feels like this is the right time. It's the right opportunity to kind of take a club that for lack of a better term, was one of the worst in baseball history, and see what he can do there. Start from scratch and just, a young GM, just again start from scratch and see where it goes. And opportunities come every few years. It's very likely that he may interview whenever Bruce Bochy retires to come to the Rangers. But I think he sees this as a good opportunity out in Chicago to kind of do things, kind of feel how he would manage this situation, as a young manager.
When Grady Sizemore took over as the interim in the middle of the season here, we heard from the players constantly how much they respected him for his relatively recent playing career. Chris Getz, who's the general manager, has gotten a lot of the same compliments. Not only Will Venable, does he fall into that bucket, but so does Chris Young, who you brought up. Do you get the same vibe from the players down in Texas that is something they really appreciate, is having those guys with that kind of major league playing experience kind of running the show?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really does come up almost every time, we get the first press conference with a free agent. It's like, what do you respect most about Chris Young? And it does come up, hey, he did this not too long ago. He won a World Series less than 10 years ago with the Royals. So there's a lot of respect that players do have for Chris Young. And I think players respect Will a lot too, obviously. He actually managed one game this year that goes as a loss under Bruce Bochy's record. And all the guys are like, yeah, this is great. Like, it's just good to, have his type of energy. He's only, I think, 40 years old as he turned. His birthday was yesterday. He's still young. He's been around. Like I said, managed under a couple of different types of managers too. Obviously, Alex Cora in Boston, Joe Madden in Chicago, and Bruce Bochy here. And I think he's young, he's fun, but he's so intelligent. Obviously an Ivy Leaguer, which is something we see more in the front office than we do on the field and in the dugout a lot of times. And I think it's a very valuable tool that you don't really think about often in terms of, hey, this guy's been where we've been, again, not too long ago. And the guys do appreciate that.
Absolutely. We are here with Kennedy Landry. She is the Texas Rangers beat writer for MLB.com. How would you describe Will's demeanor? We haven't met him just yet, but is he a guy that, is probably looser in the dugout, but a little bit more straight-faced with you guys, or does he bring that kind of looseness to the media as well?
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was actually on the phone with Scott Merkin, the .com reporter for the White Sox, and Will hasn't interacted with the media as much as maybe we have with a lot of other coaches. I mean, he coaches the outfielders for the Rangers, so anytime Adolis Garcia won a Gold Glove last year. Obviously, Will had a hand in the steps that he took to get there. They have Leody Taveras, Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, all of whom have been improved over the last few years in terms of their defense in that side. But, we have Tony Beasley as a third base coach who handles a lot of the infielders, who does a lot of the talking in terms of coaches. In that one game that we had for Will when Bruce Bochy had a personal matter he had to take care of, and he was very kind of just low key and chill. He answered the questions exactly kind of how you expected him to. He wasn't saying anything crazy. He wasn't, Boch likes to joke around sometimes. And, he's been around the block. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. But Will is, he is very loose and fun with the players in the clubhouse. He's close in age to a lot of these guys. I think Max Scherzer might be older than him. So, I think he gets along really well with the players. And when he's talking to the media, he's kind of straight. He doesn't beat around the bush. He tells you like it is. That loss that the Rangers had to the Tigers over the summer. And he was just like, yeah, hey, you got to do what you got to do. The Tigers hit 2 solo home runs that won the game. The Rangers hit 1 solo home run. And it was kind of just the same struggles that the Rangers had throughout the year when Bruce Bochy was there. And he was like, you got to do what you got to do, and some things don't fall your way. And it was kind of, I don't want to say coach speak, because I think he was obviously in a precarious situation, stepping in for one game for a Hall of Fame manager and having a loss go against Bruce Bochy's record. But that's kind of a lot of how a lot of our interactions with Will went. He's straightforward, to the point, gives us an answer, and we go about it.
And Kennedy, you just talked about the Gold Glove that Adolis won last year. We here in Chicago remember Travis Jankowski stealing the walk-off home run by Andrew Vaughn this year. And so this is part of Will's day-to-day with the Texas Rangers. What other things, and it's a breath of fresh air for us White Sox fans as far as defense is concerned, if he's going to be out there having that tutelage to the outfielders because they need that. But what other day-to-day things would Will Venable be assessed with as the associate manager? Because it's a new title that I hadn't heard of, as you said, before Will actually got it.
Yeah, I think, the Rangers have a bench coach that's also Donnie Ecker, who I believe also interviewed for this position. And he is also an offensive coordinator. It felt like the Rangers made up a lot of terms these last few years that I didn't think we had in baseball. But I think Will handles a lot more of the bench coaching responsibilities, I guess you would say. And while Donnie handles a lot of the big picture hitting, offensive structure. Obviously, we had a hitting coach and a offensive coordinator with the Rangers, so those two worked more together. While Will did most of the bench coaching responsibilities, whether that was looking at challenges and replays and all of the things that a bench coach did, just kind of being Bruce Bochy's right hand man, walking out to the field when we don't want Bruce Bochy on his rough knees. I remember specifically when Adolis Garcia got hurt in the outfield last year. It was Will running to the outfield and obviously not Bruce Bochy. So just a lot of those things that you typically see of a bench coach is really what Will was doing with Texas.
Obviously, the Rangers won the World Series last year. They'll be the reigning champs for at least another few hours. But what do you think this opportunity for Will, going from a team that just was at the very top of the mountain to now going to a team who's got a very long-term rebuild ahead of them? I mean, the difference there between those two environments, what does that look like for him?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a fascinating opportunity, and it's long-term. He came to the Rangers after they signed Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, after they signed Bruce Bochy, after they signed Jacob deGrom. He was one of the last kind of plug-ins of that World Series winning staff. And for him to come to Chicago, it's obviously really starting from the ground up. And I think it's a challenge for him. And I think he's the type of guy that embraces that kind of challenge, to be able to work with Chris Getz and to be able to, take a lot of these young guys and get some, veteran free agents or whoever that might be in here and build it from the ground up and hopefully get back into contention. It's obviously not going to happen all at once. And I think obviously he's going to need a little bit of leash there, especially from fans. It's not going to happen at the snap of a finger. You don't go from winning 120 games to 95 in one offseason. But he's a guy that I think is committed to that long-term process to be able to get Chicago back to the top of the AL Central.
Kennedy, we've been trying to figure out who Will might bring in to fill out his staff, and you brought up Donnie Ecker. You also talked about the hitting coach leaving for Atlanta. Do you think that Bochy might be switching out his staff, possibly? Do you think it is possible that Ecker might follow Venable to Chicago, even though Donnie pulled out of the White Sox manager search?
I don't foresee that happening in terms of Donnie leaving. Obviously, the Rangers don't have a hitting coach right now. Donnie is pretty much fully in charge of all of that. And I think we saw at the end of the season, the Rangers said, hey, all of our coaches are invited back. We want all of them back. Both Chris Young and Bruce Bochy said that to us. So I don't think it's going to be, unless, if Donnie would like to leave, I think the Rangers aren't going to stop him, obviously. But I don't think Bruce Bochy is really jumping the gun to switch out his staff members. He obviously likes a lot of these guys. A lot of them are really holdovers from the Chris Woodward era. Everybody but Will, I believe, was a holdover from the Chris Woodward era, and they all liked Boch came in. He said he liked the staff. Chris Young obviously likes the staffs a lot, and they've been around. They've won the World Series, coached an All-Star game together. So I think I don't foresee them leaving, but obviously anything can happen, and Will has a lot of good relationships with the guys who are around. So things could change, and I could be completely wrong, obviously, but it'll be interesting.
All right, cool, Kennedy. I think that's mainly all of our questions, but I also have been fairly distracted by your album wall. I could see the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I could see Whitney. I could see the Carter 3. What else is on there?
Thriller.
Yeah.
Thriller.
Yeah, Thriller. So this is My Pride and
Harry.
Joy is the album wall.
Is that
we've got
Fleetwood
this.
Mac up top?
It is. It's a Fleetwood Mac. There is this old Whitney Houston one. I can't see where my finger's going. The old Whitney Houston above Beyonce. I stole from my parents. It's an OG from the 70s.
Hell yeah.
It's great. This
Miller?
is the Dallas
I was gonna say, I love the
skyline.
Mac Miller.
Yes, Mac Miller. Again, the Dallas skyline is great. My friend got me that for my birthday. It was like an old album that was just kind of broken and somebody carved into it, which was fun. Kendrick, we have that right there. A couple Beyoncés. So yeah, big fan of music. It's one of my hobbies on the side. I like to go to record stores and kind of whatever cities we're in on the road, and just look through the bins and everything. There's another wall on the other side of my apartment actually that you can't see, but yeah, big fan.
A regular Vinnie Duber.
It looks great. I'll have to send you some record store recommendations for when you're in Chicago next.
Oh, please. Thank you. I would love that.
Hell yeah. We appreciate it, Kennedy. Again, Kennedy Landry, the Texas Rangers beat writer for MLB.com. You can follow her on Twitter at Ken Landry. Thank you so much for your time, Kennedy.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Absolutely. We appreciate the insight. And, hey, we always appreciate, interior design.
I've got two of those, by the way.
The
I got Fleetwood Mac and
Oh.
Prince. I've got two of those records that I see up there.
Not
So
Thriller?
No, I don't have
Not
Thriller.
off
You don't
the
have
wall?
Little Wayne?
No, I don't have Little Wayne.
Okay. Well, it's Lil Wayne.
Little Wayne?
Lil.
Ah,
He's
gotcha.
not. He's not. This is not Little Richard.
Gotcha.
Not Swinging?
I've got one of those.
Yeah, I bet you do,
Yeah.
Grandpa.
Kendrick Lamar?
Kennedy did bring up one thing. Max Venable, not Max. That's his dad.
Yeah.
I do that with Floyd and Jesse as well. Will Venable
Mhm.
is older than Max Scherzer, but Scherzer probably went up to Will Venable and said, "Hey, first time I faced you, 0 for 2. There's no way that 2009 Max Scherzer does not think back on being a 2-year veteran and just looking at his managers being like, got you. I've won up to.
Oh,
You got nothing on me, especially
yeah.
psycho Max Scherzer.
Big leaguers do not forget any at bat they've ever taken.
He could probably just tell him the pitches that
Absolutely,
he
they
threw to
could.
Will
Yep.
Venable and everything. So yeah, it's exciting. I think the part 2, and Paul Sullivan wrote this on the Tribune. I don't know if I fully agreed with Paul's description of Pedro Grifol. I think he took a little bit too much of the effing flat comment, saying that, Pedro was kind of out there. But he described Will as being soft-spoken. And similar to Grady, where Grady was just kind of like, like didn't seem like there were too many ups and downs with Grady. Like, it does seem like you're going to get somebody who is very aware of what the goals are. And I don't think this is going to be somebody that will be broken by this not going right, because, again, losing is going to be a part of this journey.
Right. Again, it comes down to knowing what you're signing up for. And listen, when Pedro got the job, he was signing up to manage a team that was supposed to win the division. Correct. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was the expectation when he took over. And boy, it went off the rails in a big hurry. And he had to really recalibrate quickly. I mean, and not even just in the offseason. He did it more successfully in the offseason. But the White Sox were out of it by the end of April. April was so bad that in 2023, or yes, what year is it? Yeah, in 2023, that he was shell shocked for the most part. Oh my God, I'm supposed to be winning every game out here every night, and now all of a sudden it goes so haywire so quickly. Those expectations were recalibrated a bit in the offseason, but Pedro, like Tony, was one of those guys who the outcome of the game stung him, man. And I don't doubt that Will Venable will have a little bit of that in him, but he knows that he's signing up for a job that is going to involve a lot of development, that is going to involve a lot of waiting for guys to develop down in the minor leagues, right?
It's the hardest part.
So they said that. I got that one too. And I think that you're probably better off looking at somebody like Ricky Renneria and how he handled the day-to-day results when it comes to Will Venable, not just because they were on the Padres together, but because Ricky knew what he was getting into with this rebuilding White Sox team. Will knows what he's getting into with another rebuilding White Sox team. And I don't think you're going to see someone like you very clearly saw. I mean, you could see it through the TV when you would watch Pedro's post-game press conferences. Mm-hmm. He was pissed off when they lost the game. And you can't live that high and that low based on the results of games, especially when the results, Herb, to use what you've been saying, don't really matter that much. So I think that the expectations are going to help Will Venable out quite a bit here. And I'm also starting to realize, granted, like you said, we haven't met him yet. Maybe this will change once I start talking to him every day. But he's one of those guys who I'm saying his full name every time.
All the time.
Describe him.
Oh, right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, because Will's a different word. Like, if it was William, oh, that's a name. But like Will, Canny, you know what I'm saying? Like,
also a name though. Gottlieb's probably sitting over there.
that's true,
Right
but they
now.
call him Goat. You know, like they have a nickname for
Gotcha.
him.
So we need a nickname.
like
for-
Will Vest. We call him Will Vest all the time. Detroit Tiger, Will Vest. I think all Wills you got to call by their names because it's weird. It's a 4 letters. It's just a weird name. And as you said, it's a different, it also means a different thing. Like Will, like, oh, are you asking me a question?
Should I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Will Venable?
Probably, possibly.
He may.
He may.
But also, I'm thinking what you're talking about, like that even demeanor. I can just speak for myself, as I want a manager or somebody who's above me to have similar demeanor when he's dealing with me. And I'm sure Major League Baseball players, they are creatures of habit, want a person that is the same every day, that is communicating with you, of course, telling you when you're playing, what you're doing wrong. But like Pedro's swings like that, when you're seeing him fuming and then all the rest of the things, I'm sure it didn't play well. But yeah, we get it. Losing sucks. It's terrible. We all hate losing. I'm sure the players, like, we all hate losing, but we're not showing it on our face. To just be even-keeled, knowing that the process is going to be long and arduous, I think will actually serve him well. And I hope he doesn't take these losses too personally or takes them too like viscerally and say, oh God, I just hate to lose, because this is what you're signed up to do. You literally signed up to lose more games than you're going to win probably in your first 3 years.
Well, and I'll just chime in and say, just to throw this in there, so, you know, little devil's advocate maybe of what I myself was saying. When I talked to the players last year about Pedro, that's what they said. They called him even keeled. That was their compliment for him. And I think he did have that, you know, today is a new day vibe when he got to the office. And so I think that was something that was appreciated. But like I said, you could see it on his face, how those losses were getting to him. And also you can kind of excuse it because he didn't sign up to be part of a rebuild.
He did not.
He signed up to, you know, to manage a contender. So when things fell apart so quickly and he was still there, he still had the job, you have to go out there and play. But man, they hired this guy probably because of what winning and losing meant to him and stuff like that, and then just thrust into a different situation right away. That Will Venable, there again, full name, gets to start this situation with those expectations and know what those expectations are going to be, not just for this season, but for years to come, good and bad, right? I think is very helpful for him.
I don't think I can call Princeton man Willie V.
No.
Maybe, like, I don't feel comfortable calling him by his last name either. Venable. That just seems weird. Like, seems disrespectful for me because I don't know him like that, calling somebody by their last name. But yeah, you got to call him Will Venable.
Yeah, you got to ask him Vinny whenever they announce.
And
him.
I'm not
Like,
going to
do you
call
have
him
any nicknames?
I'm not going to call him Manager Venable. He's not my manager.
Willie,
Skip. He's just Skip now.
There's no nicknames listed on Baseball Reference, which is fun.
I mean, his dad's name is Max. Can we call him Minimum? No.
I like that. But also, hey, fun full name William McKinley Venable.
Ooh.
For Max.
His father's name,
I
yeah.
thought he was
Will is William Dion Venable.
Yes.
I
So you
thought
could call him William, but also again, that's I don't know.
I thought that was William McKinley. He's like named after the president. Got shot.
His dad might have. You could ask Max, or we could have Vinny ask Max.
I don't
hey,
think you name your kid William McKinley and it's not intentional, right?
Yeah. the Venable just loved them some William McKinley. Like, man, it's too bad our president got shot. So sad. Let's name our kid after him.
How are we going to honor him? It was 1957. When was William McKinley?
The late 1800s,
Yeah.
early 19. I think 1901, maybe.
Okay.
Is that right?
Something around
And
there.
then he got the mountain named after him.
Yes, it was only named after him because he was president at the time, and so then they've changed. This is a fun fact.
Is it
This
real?
is fun history for you guys. Yeah, it's in Alaska. It's
you're-
the highest point in the
Yes.
United States.
You're a freak for this.
But they've since changed the name of that mountain and the national park that it's in to the native word Denali.
Yes.
But there was great opposition from one member of Congress when they had to change that name, and it was the district in Ohio where William McKinley is from.
See,
that's a really fun fact.
Vinnie and Max Scherzer went to the Princeton of the Midwest.
Yeah. Hey, look
Missouri.
at you guys. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. All right. One thing, because you brought up Ricky Renteria, I'm not trying to force
1901 nailed it.
Boom. And then Teddy took over, right?
Correct.
Boom.
Yeah.
Would there be, again, this weird scenario where you brought up Ricky Renteria, you brought up his even keel nature, you brought up a guy who's been in Chicago. Will Venable talked about how excited he was for Ricky Renteria when he got the Cubs job. He thought he was going to be a perfect manager. He used the word leader to describe Ricky Renteria. If this weird scenario plays out where Ricky Renteria somehow returns to Chicago, is there a weird holdover? Luis Robert Jr., I guess Danny Mendick, Matt Foster, Garrett Crochet are the only players left from that 2020 team. Would there be a weird holdover where Ricky Renteria returns 4 years later?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think you get fired to be replaced and then just come hang out as a lesser job than you had with the same team.
The only time
maybe Will's that guy.
The only time I've seen that happen is recently, where Vance Joseph was the head coach of the Denver Broncos, got fired after 1 or 2 years, went to the Arizona Cardinals, and now he's back with the Denver Broncos as the defensive coordinator. That's very unusual to do that, especially how Ricky was treated here. I think he was treated poorly. Now, do I think he should have been fired? They made the playoffs for the first time in 12 years, and so to be dismissed and then be dismissed for Tony Lewis, I'm sure he feels a certain way about the White Sox, and probably even though those two people who did the firing are still not here, Tony's still here. Jerry's still here.
Jerry's still here. Yeah. Hey, I know. I get it. Hey, I would go to Ricky Renteria's house on Thanksgiving. I don't think he's inviting me, but he just seems like a real
great guy.
He just seems like a great guy. I don't know. It sucks that it all fell apart there.
In this city, he helped develop 2 different teams to playoffs. And he got a ring with the Cubs too. I think they gave him a ring after, even though he wasn't managing that team.
And it's weird, he just really hasn't been there. Pine Tar Keyboard in the chat asking, it never felt like anyone expected Ricky to make it to the other side of the last rebuild. Do we think they see Venable as a long-term guy post losing like Hyde in Baltimore?
Yes.
I think that Chris Getz has gotten his guy, and if there is no reason to fire him, if the team maybe never turns around or he just there's a scandal or something, I don't think there's going to be a reason to fire Will Venable. I think that this could be a guy that just really holds down this job, kind of similar to Brandon Hyde or Aaron Boone.
Well, and or
Dave Roberts.
To go back to the Renteria thing too, I think no one expected it, in quotes, there for people who can't see my fingers, because people were cynical and reacting to the way he was dismissed for Joe Madden on the north side. I think the reason that he was dismissed by the White Sox was because A.J. Hinch was available.
Correct.
And that's, as we have found out through all the national reports that came about chronicling the last many years of the White Sox, that's who Ray Kahn wanted to hire. And I think that opportunity is why Ricky Renteria was dismissed. I don't think you look at the way the pitching staff was managed in one game of a playoff series, of a weird 3-game playoff series, and say, all right, he's done for that reason. I think the stars aligned, so to speak, and they saw an opportunity to, coincidentally, do exactly what was done on the north side, and then it went a different way.
And didn't even really have Eloy Jimenez for any of those games except for the double he hit, and then he had to be immediately removed.
And he didn't have a starting pitcher for that last game, which again probably would have been helpful.
Who did he start? Dunning?
Yeah, Dane Dunning started that game.
Dane got hurt, and then he threw in.
No, Dane didn't get hurt. They took him out after 2 outs.
Yeah.
And then Crochet got hurt.
Right. And then Cease came in, or Rodon.
All numbers of people came in.
That game, don't check that box score. That box score is literally disgusting.
And then the thing vividly I remember is Liam Hendricks striking out the greatest right fielder in White Sox history with his 1 home run. He's young though. 20 was he 20?
No, I believe Nomar Mazara is still under 30.
He's still 28.
That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast.
I just want to remind people that if you, again, want instant reactions of the new manager signing, The guys did an emergency podcast presented by Indeed last night around 11:30 at night. So you guys should check it out.
Sarah's doing ad reads now.
What the heck?
I like
With
this.
the tag.
We're gonna start folding Sarah into the ad read schedule.
Superstar. All right, we are going to wrap it up for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We will be here on Thursday and Friday. Obviously, with the news pending for Will Venable, we will update you on the show times. It should be 4 p.m. for both of them. But hey, to David saying when is he going to be introduced, we don't know. And whenever he is introduced, we'll have it covered. Vinny will be at the park, and Herb and I will be here. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. You can follow Herb at Ecknerwall23. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson.
29 years old. Played in the Mexico League last year.
Thank you.
Wow, critical Nomar Mazara update. Thanks to Kennedy Landry for joining us,
Yes.
too.
Thank you to Kennedy Landry. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We have a Bulls pre- and post-game tonight, so tune in to Peck, Dave, Will Gottlieb, and is this one with Will Purdue?
Yes.
There you go. Also, you're not going to say just Purdue. You're not going to say Will. You're going to say Will Purdue.
Yes.
You're going to say Will Gottlieb.
It's a Will thing.
There's 2 Wills on that show now, too.
Okay, we're getting closer to this.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
There's a way.
Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.